What is up, guys? Welcome back to another video. My name is Nash, and today I'm going to be going over my favorite book that changed my life, and I mean literally. And if you're going to read this book, it's going to change your life. The link is going to be in the description below. I think it's on Amazon for $10. But this is the book here, How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. And it's missing a cover. As well, see, I've had it for a long time, about 10 years now. So I first came across this book when I was in high school. I loved reading in high school. I would skip lunch just to go read in the library. I was like best friends with the library lady. Now, I came across this book and, it was just something about it that I really enjoyed about the book, but I wasn't fully able to comprehend what it meant, what it was talking about. And the little bit that I got, I was able to kind of like enjoy that. So I decided to buy the book 10 years ago, or a little 9, 10, 8, 11, 12 years ago. I decided to buy it so I can reread the book as I grew older, right? So I've been reading this book for like 10 years now, but essentially just rereading it, and you find something new every time. So I've had this book for a while, and essentially what this book covers is essentially life in general. So Dale Carnegie uses real life situations and builds principles, based on those situations, right? And let me go ahead just to kind of like give you a quick overview. So it's divided into 3 different parts, or maybe 4, I think. It's divided into 4 different parts, actually. And each part is essentially how you handle life at that part, right? The first part is called Fundamental Techniques in Handling People. So how do you handle people? If you think about it, every day you go to the store, you go to work, you go to school, you go anywhere really, you're going to find people, and you have to be able to handle those people, right? Whether you're in an argument, whether you're excited about something, whether someone asks you a question, whether someone is being violent, you have to be able to handle people. So in this section, it covers things like how do you criticize people without making them feel bad if you have to criticize them. So this essentially goes over how you can handle people in your day-to-day life. Even if you have to make a decision on criticizing someone, this book is going to help you. And he uses great examples that are, real life examples. It's not a fiction book where he makes up stories. These are some of the things you can even look up. You can go back in history and look up, and you see how you built that principle based on that situation, or based on how that person reacted or handled that situation. Now, the second part is actually called 6 Ways to Make People Like You. I think this is really important. As silly as that sounds, this is going to help you really navigate, whether it's your workplace, school, anywhere really. You need people to like you, right? Even in this environment where your education doesn't really matter. If you want a job, you have to know someone, right? For the most part, you have to get that recommendation. If people don't like you, you're not going to get recommended. You have to make people like you. And he goes over things that you can do to make people like you. It's not crazy things. It's things like how can you make a good first impression? How can you do that? So let's say you've made a good first impression. How do you handle a conversation and actually be interesting, right? Nowadays, I feel like a lot of people don't know how to handle a conversation. That's because you didn't read this book. He goes over how can you handle a conversation and actually contribute to it, instead of just saying, I know, or sounds good. You have to actually contribute to the conversation. And he goes over how to interest people, how to make people interested in you without forcing them to, right? Because you can't do that. And he goes over how to make people like you instantly. And the cool thing is, like, there's examples, real life examples of how this is done. There's multiple examples for each principle that he lists on here. Now, the third part is called How to Win People to Your Way of Thinking, which is essentially how to make people appreciate your ideas. If you have an idea, how to make people listen to it. That's essentially what he goes over. One of the first principles under this third section is you can't win an argument, right? He goes over how to handle yourself in an argument. And the second principle is essentially how to avoid making enemies, right? He goes over how to get cooperation from people. He goes over what everybody wants from you, right? So these are principles that, things that we overlook in life. But if you read about it, it's things that you come across every day. And by reading about it, it's just going to make you conscious of it, and it's going to make you react differently and deal with things differently. Now, the last part, which is part 4, is about people that are in leadership positions. It talks about how to change people without giving offense or arousing resentment, right? It's essentially how to lead without making people hate you, right? And it goes over, there's about 9 different principles on how you can do this. This goes over how to criticize. Once again, how do you criticize? Let's say you're a manager. How do you criticize an employee that's done something wrong without offending them, without making them resent you afterwards, right? How can you do that? And I think this last part, which is part 4, is going to be really helpful if you find yourself moving up in corporate America at your job. If you find yourself moving up, I'd really recommend picking up this book and reading part 4. And one of the things I use, if you, let's say you're a supervisor or your manager and you have to talk to an employee about where they messed up, he says that one of the best ways to do this is to talk about your own mistakes to make the employee feel more comfortable, right? Now, you don't have resentment afterwards. That's one way to avoid it. There's multiple ways that he goes over, but that is one of my favorite things that I took away from this part 4. And he goes over the fact that no one likes to take orders, right? But you have to. That's how life is built. There's different levels to life. No one likes to take orders, so he teaches you how to give orders without making people hate you for it. And there's so much more to this book. I just don't want to spoil it for you guys, but this is a great book that's really shaped my way of thinking. You know, when I'm going to work, when I'm going out, when I'm going to school, when I'm doing this, you know, I'm conscious of those things and I constantly apply those principles. And it's going to take time to fully understand these principles. So this is one of those books that you just hold on to, you know, for years, decades, for your life, the rest of your life. And you can always reference back to it, you know, if you forget. And I think it's a really great book for younger adults to read and fully understand, because this is just going to help you. It doesn't take anything away from you other than the time it takes to read. Or you can get an audiobook. You know, I'm a person that likes a physical book that I can, you know, open up and touch and, you know, and read. But that is pretty much it for this video. Let me know what your favorite book is. If any book has changed your life, let me know in the comment section below. And also make sure to go ahead and hit the subscribe button below if you're not subscribed. And also make sure to go ahead and hit the like button below if you haven't already. And I'll see you on the next one. Peace.